We're back for another one of these videos where we focus on one state, take all of the teams in Division 1, throw them into a conference, and see what happens in 15 years. We got Pennsylvania today, and I felt like this was a odd state because of the disparity between basically Penn State, maybe Pitt, and just everybody else. I tend to look for that 10 to 12 team range for, teams to keep track of, and that's a sweet spot. Pennsylvania had 12, and interestingly, 9 of them are at the FCS level, so we had to go and put 9 teams to replace 1-star schools, so a lot of the 1-star schools in the current FBS have been completely just nuked, and we're going to see if Penn State, who is just the overwhelming heavy favorites, can actually take care of business. It's going to be disappointing if Penn State can't win with the severe advantage that they have, and in the first season, Penn State does really underwhelm. I mean, they took care of business in the conference 7-1, but they couldn't win any of their non-conference games, and that's going to hold them back, so it's going to be a Penn State versus Pittsburgh conference championship, which you probably would have predicted. That's a pretty obvious result that we're getting here, but Villanova, coming out here proving that they're maybe not just going to be a basketball school, they're going to come out here and be ranked after the first season. One of these schools was potentially going to get lucky since all these teams are at the same level, 70-something overall, and in our conference championship for the first season, if it's a close game as per usual, we'll hop in and kind of spectate it, but if it's a dominant game like this, I mean, you'll just see the result as Penn State takes home a conference championship, meaning nobody gets to go to the playoffs in the first year. I'm curious how this is going to work because in the Florida and California, there were a lot more high-end schools, your Miamis, your Florida States, your schools that had prestige to them. Same thing for California with USC and UCLA and all these other schools. But in this Pennsylvania one, their conference prestige is going to be really low, which is going to really impact their ability to be treated as like a Power 5 conference and get into the playoffs. It's really going to come up to the fact that these other teams got to pull their weight so they can help their own teams in the conference get into the playoffs. Penn State goes and smacks Pitt in the conference championship once again. And while they went 12-1, they're just not good enough to get into the playoffs. They're the 13th ranked team and they didn't make the playoffs, which is a little underwhelming considering they only had one loss, won the conference championship, but that's what I mean. The quality of victory beating just 1-star schools when your schedule is filled with 8 conference games and 6-7 of them are 1-star schools, it's not going to count for much. So it's really going to be up to these schools to pull their weight and actually manage to make themselves look a little bit more credible so that they can even help the other teams in their conference. The first couple of years always move rather fast, and Temple is in the conference championship. This time around, it's going to be them and Pitt. So Penn State falling behind a little bit already as Temple is on the field. It is a 7-3 game, a really low scoring one here, with under 3 minutes to play in enemy territory. Play action, throwing at the sticks, and that's going to be caught. And a bad pursuit angle is going to spring Temple for a little bit more yards after the catch, and now they are in range to go and get this touchdown to try to take this lead in this low-scoring game. They haven't gotten to the end zone yet, but now they're in the red zone, 16-yard line, dropping to throw over the middle. That's going to be caught at the goal line, not quite in, but they're just going to finish this drive off with a touchdown, and now Pitt has to go and see if they can redeem themselves over the past 2 years. They've embarrassed themselves in the conference championship, and they got a big play here, and all the way for the touchdown on the first play of the drive, and they do not want to lose a 3rd straight conference championship as Temple now throwing, and they got a big play, and he's going to hang on after that shot taken, 34-yard line, throwing for the first down, got it on the slant, and hurrying back to the line. Little time to play. Temple dropping back. And clean pocket over the middle, and that's caught for the touchdown. And now suddenly we got some fireworks here at the end of this game, and Pitt's left with less than 20 seconds to play to get into field goal range, and that's a good job there. I think they might have gotten it in one play, and now Temple is going to have to try to stop them here. Can they get a big loss? No, they cannot. It's a nice run, and that sets them up. Temple had him in the backfield, could have made this a harder field goal try. It's not going to work, though. They go kick it through the uprights, so we got a 17-17 game in overtime as it's a swat there on 3rd down. That means a field goal try for Temple, and the 3-point lead has been acquired, and now Pitt can win with a touchdown. Empty in the backfield as there's going to be 5 receivers on the pattern, but that's going to be a sack. You had no extra protection, and you're going to have to settle for a field goal. A little long for a field goal try in overtime, but the kick is going to be good. We're heading to the second one where Pitt's going to have the football once again, 3rd down, and dropping with a lot of time in the pocket over the middle, caught for the touchdown. down, and you got to go for 2 now. Can you get that 8-point lead? As quick drop outside, caught. 2-point conversion is good, and Temple now needs 8 points to try to get this into a shootout, and they got it right immediately inside the 5, but now backed up 3rd down and goal, as no one got open on immediate blitz and immediate pressure, and it's 4th down and goal. Last opportunity, throwing, and he tried to take the shot, needed to put a little bit more loft on that one, but Pitt gets their conference championship. They didn't have to run into Penn State this time, but it still wasn't easy. And oddly enough, for the fight that these two teams put up, what about Villanova being the one to make the playoffs? They were the highest ranking team, but I mean, they got matched up against Georgia, and while Villanova could potentially be good, or one of these other teams could potentially be good, they are not nearly at the level of Georgia. They almost got shut out, so an early playoff sneaking in there for Villanova, but it didn't really result in anything. As usual, as well, at the end of this video, we're going to compare these teams, put them into tiers, and do all the other stuff that we usually do, see who gets the most draft prospects, All-Americans, best recruiting classes, most wins, playoff wins, bowl wins, all these things that try to measure these teams. And with 9 of the teams essentially starting at the same spot, and then Penn State being, you know, on the opposite end of the scale, it's going to be interesting to see if, you know, teams like Temple and Pitt can take advantage. Penn State can actually win a national championship, or if one of these 9 teams, or all of them, are going to close that gap and the distance between them and Penn State. Villanova's already doing a phenomenal job right now. A couple of 10-win teams, and how about Lehigh also getting a 10-win season as well? So 2 of our teams already getting into the mix in the national championship picture and the playoff picture. Penn State versus Villanova now in the conference championship, and Penn State, I mean, I thought they would dominate early on, but they've just not really done as much as you would have liked for them to do, because I would imagine they should be out here having undefeated seasons, undefeated runs in the conference, and they haven't made the playoffs yet. They've won 2 conference championships, which is nice, but it hasn't been convincing, especially with a 7-win season in the first year. But now, with a tie game, Villanova trying to pull off what would probably be a little bit of an upset, regardless of what the records dictate. I mean, Penn State is the much bigger, more talented program, and Villanova trying to just be more than the basketball school. They're trying to be a football school too, but they're throwing an interception there, and Penn State with the football, little time to play, a little over a minute to go, and over the middle, that's going to be caught inside the 20, and setting them up for a field goal try. They're just going to run the clock, run the ball, try to make Villanova lose as much time as possible, and that's exactly what's going to happen. 10 seconds to go, kick is good, and Penn State knocks them off. So even though we've been a little underwhelmed, 3 out of 4 conference championships for Penn State to start, and they get themselves into the playoffs with a first-round bye. So, see, the conference finally got themselves a little bit more respect, a couple of ranked teams, and, you know, the committee's going to respect that. But look at this quarterback for Penn State. What is he doing? He's running backwards and losing 20 yards, and now it's 3rd down and 30, basically, and he's just running backwards, and he's getting sacked. It's 4th and 40+, and the quarterback throwing, and it's just not going to matter. What was he doing there? I don't know what kind of pocket presence he has. He's looking like he's just actually seeing ghosts, and he's not going to be able to come anywhere close to leading a game-winning drive. He's going to knock them out, and Tennessee's going to take the 3-point win. Now the rest of the bowl results see Villanova, Lehigh get bowl wins. Lafayette didn't, but Bucknell got a bowl win. So some of these other schools, like I said, getting involved. Penn State's probably going to dominate when it comes to, you know, all the draft success and getting the classes. But as we've seen with the California video, if you haven't seen that one yet, spoilers, go check that one out. There are teams that are able to, you know, maximize the lesser talent that they have and take down some of these bigger brand, bigger name schools. Even if the talent and the draft and the All-Americans are significantly less, they can go out and still have similar or better success than them. And look what we got here in year 5. Villanova, Lehigh, both in the top 10. Conference championship, 4 minutes to play, 1-point game. Villanova has the football, and these two schools trying to be the 2 that rise above the rest as a screen is set up, and it's going to be a first down and more. 40-yard line to the 35 now, and they are just about at that field goal range on that fringe, 50+ yards from here, and they can try to take the lead, maybe run some clock, but they're taking the shot deep, and that's going to be intercepted. You cannot take that level of a risk in that situation. but they did anyway, and they're going to have to come up with a stop now with just 2 minutes to play. 2-minute warning is hit, and now it is going to be second down and 4 play action. And now Lehigh going to throw one outside. That's going to be caught turning upfield for the first down, and just so close to this game being over, and he's going to get stopped. So you got about 17 seconds to play, a couple of plays to try to get yourself into field goal range. You got enough, but when you're taking a shot out of bounds there, didn't see anything you like. This is probably your last play, middle of the field, spike the football, clock ticking, under 10 seconds to play, taking a lot of time, throwing one up the right side. He's got it, and he's not just going to get a field goal range play, he's getting the touchdown, and Villanova steals the conference championship right out from Lehigh, and they go and get themselves a big time win to try to really say who the top dog in this conference is going to be. Both teams make the playoffs, but Villanova got the first round bye. So Lehigh, if they want to see Villanova again, they're going to have to get a big stop and try to make this comeback, but they're going to allow a big rushing touchdown, and Cincinnati takes it all the way, and it's a 2-score lead. Lehigh needs a massive play, and they're going to tuck, run, but get sacked. It's 4th down, last opportunity, and clean pocket. A lot of time, just no one's getting open, and he gets sacked, and that's going to be game. Cincinnati takes down Lehigh, and they really could have used that first round bye. Now we turn over to Villanova to see if they could get themselves a playoff win. Their matchup ain't so easy. It's Alabama, but they gotta lead the ball in enemy territory, and they get stopped. 4th down, field goal try is gonna be good. So Villanova with a 6-point lead with under 2 minutes to play. Imagine the scenes. Villanova taking down Alabama in football as a dropping back. He's breaking out of a sack. He fumbles the football. The lineman jumps on it. It gets blown dead. Now a minute to go, just about. 4th down and long. Flag is on the play. The pass is short of the marker. Villanova should have it. They should win this game, but it's pass interference, and the game continues. Villanova had the win, but Alabama now has the football still, and they got a big one past midfield, hurrying back to the line. 45 seconds to play, man in motion, dropping to throw, empty backfield, and a nice play there, hanging on in traffic. And Villanova, they should have had this game. The pass interference kept this one alive, and Alabama all the way, touchdown, and they got the lead with the extra point, and Villanova doesn't know it hit him. You're in desperation mode. You got another miracle in you. He's running around, rolling around, and he's getting sacked. Timeout used, but we're down to the last play of the game, and unless they have another miracle in them, one greater than the one against Lehigh, it's not going to happen, and the interception ends, and he just had to put the football up, and that's going to be game. They got the 4th down stop. They could have kneeled the football out, but a pass interference is what robbed them, and maybe that's just luck turning around because they got lucky against Lehigh, and this was just their get back. But I mean, that's just so unfortunate. A pass interference was what stopped them from beating Alabama, and now these teams continue to search for their first playoff victory. And we're going to see now if any of these other 7 teams can try to catch up. Lehigh and Villanova seems to have taken the leap. Penn State's disappointing us a little bit now because now they're not even, fighting for the conference championship. Pitt hasn't really, been too dangerous. They got that one conference title. And Temple, aside from one appearance, hasn't really done a whole lot. But the rest of these teams, someone's got to unburden, someone's going to step up. Penn State back on top, and Lehigh left out of the conference championship for Villanova. So Penn State now, here we go. This is more of what we expected, an undefeated regular season, and now they got the football. Another matchup against Villanova, their second time facing off. First time Penn State got the victory, and now they're going to be on their way to another victory with a touchdown here, and the lead. 2-point conversion to make the full 7-point game. The handoff is going to be into the end zone. 2 points is good. Now turn to Villanova to see if they can take down Penn State for the first time, and they get themselves another conference championship. Penn State chasing them. 2 guys converge, sack, 3rd down and very long, and they got to try to throw something up here, and probably risk an interception, but he's not throwing the football, and he dangerously ran back to the end zone for a second. It's still going to result in amazing field position for Penn State because you're punting from the 1-yard line, and when they're running the football for 10+ yards, they're in position to take a 2-score lead now as they continue to grind this clock, and run time out as now we are at about 3 minutes to play, and the field goal is going to be good. So a 2-score lead for Penn State, and now Villanova needs a score on this drive if they're going to have any semblance of hope. And they're going to throw one deep, and that's going to be into coverage. The ball a little short. It's intercepted. Had to do something. There were 2 minutes to play, and that's going to result in a Penn State victory. So Penn State is up 2-0 on Villanova in conference championships, and now they're at 13-0, and this is more what we were expecting, hoping for. They go get themselves a first-round bye, and it's up to them to try to finish this job. But they were not the only team to make the playoffs. Lehigh snuck their way in, and they're in a battle against Michigan, who has a lot of time in the pocket. The offensive line of Michigan is just dominating, but I guess the coverage of Lehigh doing even better. So they're going to get the stop, and Lehigh has the football. 1-point game, and just running around in the defensive line, the offensive line as well of Michigan, just dominating on both sides. And once again, just so much time in the pocket, but it just doesn't feel like there's a lot of movement. You can see that one receiver was just sitting there, not moving, not helping his quarterback out. And these teams are trading punts under 2 minutes to play and tucking and running. And the quarterback, does he got the first? Not quite, just barely short, and an injury timeout's going to help them out a little bit to stop the clock, but dropping to throw outside, got it at midfield, and that's going to be caught now. Bringing back to the line, 1.5 minutes to play, dropping to throw. He's got some time in the pocket, steps up and launches one sideline, and that's going to be caught inside the 30, and now they're in field goal range, and that's all they needed. Now the handoff, trying to run the clock, run the football, and under a minute to play, and the quarterback dropping to throw. He's going to tuck, he's going to run, and he's diving over a defender for the touchdown. They aimed low, he jumped high, and he's in. 2-point conversion, he keeps it again, and it's good. So just seconds away from a big-time upset victory at Michigan. Lehigh is going to do it, and they are the first team to get a playoff win. Who guessed that one? Who had that prediction to get the first playoff victory being Lehigh? It doesn't get easier, though. They got to take on Texas now, and if they're going to take down all the Blue Bloods, that'd be some type of miracle, and up the seam in between two defenders. Texas has a touchdown, but Lehigh still 1-score game. 2-minute warning has hit. Third down, dropping back, a lot of time. He steps up, he breaks out of the sack, and he saves them big time. That could have been a 4th down try, but this is a 4th down try, so can they keep the drive alive? He's stepping up, he's looking, he didn't want to run, there was a spy there, and he just couldn't find anyone open. 1st down and 10 now. Texas an opportunity to end this game, and the big 1st down run with under a minute to play looks like it's gonna do it, and it absolutely will. They ran in a touchdown just for good measure. They could have just kneeled the ball out, basically, but I guess they wanted to continue running. Texas takes home the victory, but Lehigh still an impressive season. We're going to turn things over to Penn State to see if they can go and finish an undefeated season with a national championship. A sack here is going to give them the football back with the lead, and their opportunity to chew the clock, throwing one outside, gets the block from the receiver, and it's just enough to spring them for the 1st down. So keep moving those chains, and Notre Dame's going to have to start using those timeouts. 3rd down and long, draw play, no good. So Notre Dame's going to get the football back, and it's up to Penn State. 1 stop, and they are going to be taking home a victory, it seems like. 3rd down and 2, and just look at the time in the pocket. You see the 2 teammates in the middle double teaming. I mean, you got a 3-man rush, and the 5 offensive linemen of Notre Dame just stonewalling. I don't think you can rush 3 against a Notre Dame offensive line. I mean, that is ridiculous. Look at the time, but eventually the pressure gets in. A sack there, and now Notre Dame dropping to throw. 4th down and long. I mean, coverage is holding up nicely, throwing one deep, and that's going to be swatted away, and Notre Dame goes down. Penn State, despite getting tossed on that 3-man rush, they're going to win and move on to the semifinals, 1 step away from a national title. Taking on Georgia Tech in the semifinals, and we got another close one here. Penn State down by 7, but they don't got the ball in their hands, so they're up to the defense to stop them here and try to get this football back. 3rd down, and Georgia Tech throwing, and that's going to be intercepted. They've taken it back for the offense to have an opportunity to tie this game with 3.5 to play. Play action, and he's stepping up, throwing to the running back. He just faked it too. He's going to get the first down and to the 26-yard line just about. Now we jump ahead, 3rd down and 1, under 3 minutes to play, and the handoff gets him to goal to go. So the opportunity to tie this game is right in front of him. Can they do it? As Penn State throwing one outside, good ball placement, and that's a touchdown. So now Georgia Tech has under 2 minutes to play to try to knock out Penn State, and that's almost a pick six if he would have gotten that, but they're still going to get the football back with a 3rd down stop. That could have been it though. Instead, they're going to get themselves right in field goal range pretty quickly. Good field position after the punt, and they're going to have a run for a 1st down outside even more, and he's close to goal to go, and now they are inside the 10, 3rd down and 5. Handoff diving into the end zone. Penn State could have tried to just sit on it and go for the field goal, but they wanted the touchdown with 20 seconds to play, and they are going to a national championship to try to cap off an undefeated season. Unfortunately, for all the close games that we have gotten up until this point, this one not so much. Texas is going to end up knocking out both of the playoff representatives from the state of Pennsylvania and take home the national championship, but still the most successful season we have had for this state yet. National championship appearance, playoff victories for multiple schools, and Villanova, even though they didn't make it, still had a really nice season as well. So a lot of good, successful stuff for this state. And, you know, as other schools start to slip, Temple's not doing really much. Pitt's just completely gone, it feels like, at this point. But now Lehigh and Villanova have become legitimate schools that can go and try to compete for a national championship. Villanova has not yet won a playoff game. Lehigh has. Penn State has found themselves in a national championship. So we have maybe 3 schools in contention right now, and as we head into the next season. And this is one of the weirder ones we've seen. We got 3 ranked teams, but none of them are in the conference championship. The 2 are Bucknell and Lehigh, and we had 5 teams in that 8 to 10 win range, but none of them really like dominated or put themselves in position to be in the playoffs. And it's really weird that Bucknell has the most wins in the conference, but they're not ranked, and they find themselves here in the lead in the conference championship, getting the first downs that they need, and they cruise to a conference championship, but that's not going to give them really much of any respect. Villanova is going to get themselves in the playoffs, and this is not the first time Villanova's just snuck in, and look at them going and handling business against Louisiana Tech and getting themselves an easy victory. Now in the second round, quite the opposite, a 31-0 shutout for Villanova. So they get their first playoff win and then their biggest playoff embarrassment. But that was a really weird year where just the tiebreakers and everything kind of lined up, and no school really stood out that much over the other, and they all were just, the top 5 schools were just kind of handing each other their losses, and that's just kind of how things shook out. But we didn't get to see some of these other teams that were ranked compete for the conference championship or get a shot into the playoffs, and I mean, it was just a weird year, I guess. But we're going to move on to the next one where we can maybe see a little bit more success from the playoffs and, you know, maybe get more seasons where multiple of the teams find themselves into the playoffs. But, I mean, the conference has been definitely getting to the point where they are a bit more respected as like a Power 5 school. And we have another new face getting involved. Lafayette getting in there, 10-win season for them, and Lehigh with another 10-win season. So Lehigh kind of become a bit more of the consistent team, and they got an interception immediately. He jumped the slant route, and they got a 3-point lead with the football and under 4 minutes to play. Now 4th down and 2, they're going for it in that kind of no man's land where they don't have an opportunity for a long field goal, but they don't want to punt the football. But look at Lehigh getting this inside the 10-yard line, goal to go, now inside the 5 with 1st down and goal. Little play action and throwing back of the end zone in traffic. What a play there, and that touchdown's gonna do it. So Lehigh, you know, Lafayette tried to come out here and have a bit of a surprise season, have a little bit of a coming out party. Didn't happen. Lehigh sneaks themselves into the playoffs, so we're going to see what they can do in a low-scoring 7-7 game against Syracuse, but they got the football, and they're getting sacked here on 1st down, and it turns to a very long-distance situation. Now 3rd down and over 20, screen set up, just got to play it conservative here, and while he does get a good amount of yards, not going to get the first, so Syracuse has the football now. 30-yard line, 2nd down and 5, throwing one over the middle, picked off. That was in just 3 defenders' areas, and that one came up with the play. So now you've given Lehigh an opportunity to come out here, put themselves in field goal range, which they have, and now with a minute to go, handing it off. 3rd down, gets stopped, timeout used, so field goal is up and good. Syracuse is going to have the opportunity to tie this one up or take the lead. We know things get crazy at the end of these games, but it's not getting too crazy when it comes to the high-scoring offenses because the defense has shined in this one, and Lehigh gets themselves another playoff victory. And in this next playoff game, you know, not as good. Clemson came out here and took care of business 41-10, so Lehigh, another successful season, but it's not been a consistent stream of these teams beating the high-end schools. Lehigh did have that win over Michigan, but Villanova's playoff win was against Louisiana Tech, and Lehigh's, they got a playoff win over Syracuse, but once they run into Texas, Clemson, some of these big schools, most part they've been taken down, which you expect, but when's it going to be that season where they come out here and pull things off? Villanova probably should have beaten Alabama if it wasn't for that pass interference call, but to this point, it's been a lot of the big boys kind of bullying these little guys from Pennsylvania, and another recruiting class comes and goes where Penn State is once again acquiring a lot of talent. I mean, again, it's what you expect. Penn State is going to be winning the recruiting battles, and they are going to be winning this conference potentially. And look at that, a little bit of a flashback from what we had like a decade ago. And this time, look at Pitt. Pitt's come out of nowhere. They just won the conference championship. Penn State scored a touchdown late to make it close, but it was a 31-10 game for most of the time, and no one's going to find themselves in the playoffs this season. So we're kind of zooming through because there's just not a consistent flow of playoffs. And, you know, some can label that as good or bad. I think it's nice that the conference is really competitive and there's a lot of faces getting involved, but I mean, it's really hampering some of these teams' abilities to win a national championship because of the fact that they are coming out here and one team will win a conference this year. I mean, Bucknell won the conference like 2 years ago, and where have they been? They've just disappeared. Lafayette made the conference championship. They're off doing who knows what. Villanova's been in and out. Lehigh's been up and down. Penn State's been up and down. Pittsburgh's been up and down. So a lot of inconsistencies, and here we are back again, Lehigh versus Villanova, and this is a big one because Lehigh is 11-1. So a win from Lehigh can potentially catapult them into the playoffs. If they can go 12-1 and with a 1-point lead, they're going to have the football back, getting a stop, 3.5 minutes to play. And it seems like the most prevalent matchup has been Villanova versus Lehigh. We've seen this one a couple of times. They've always been good games, close games, as Lehigh throwing one out of bounds, 4th down, and Villanova's going to take over with a chance to spoil the season, as if Villanova wins, nobody's going to go to the playoffs, but they're going to be trying to spoil their year as Villanova throwing one outside. That's going to be caught for the 1st down and to the 40-yard line, hurrying back to the line. You don't got much time to get yourself into field goal range, but you're only 1 or 2 plays away, and that could have been one of them, but instead it's going to be 4th down and 11. Last opportunity, throwing one, and the flag is out, and this one, a familiar sight for Villanova, but this time it's in their favor. Pass interference, and now Lehigh might have been the one getting screwed over. 35-yard line, now they're inside it, spiking the football, and with 15 seconds to play, the spoiler has been played, and the spoiler has been successful. Lehigh gets knocked out because of what happened to Villanova a couple years ago, and now we get a weird playoffs where UAB and Middle Tennessee. Usually if you ever get a weird playoff scenario like that, you'll see one of those random teams find their way in, but it's very rare that you see 2 complete random group of 5 teams find their way into the national championship playing each other. So I thought I'd show that one off because that's definitely not a national championship that I have seen before. But once again, no playoff appearances because these teams all keep knocking each other out. It's a really competitive conference. And I would like to see some of these teams get a little bit more respect in the rankings, but as we head into year 11, we are kind of in a similar situation, and this time Penn is in the conference championship, so another new team getting involved in the mix. We've seen a couple of teams one off their way into a conference championship. Bucknell, Lafayette made it, but can we get a team like Penn to be a bit more of a perennial contender here, as it's going to be a massive 95-yard plus touchdown, and Lehigh is going to take the lead. So a 17-10 game, Lehigh trying to capture another conference championship, as their read option for Penn is going to take them to about the 34-yard line, and they got a minute and a half to try to get this touchdown, dropping the throw outside. That's going to be caught for the 1st down, turning up to midfield. So you got 50 yards to go in a little over a minute, dropping the throw now, 3rd down and 4, 1st down, continuing to move those chains, timeout being used, and you got plenty of time now, 60 seconds just about 30-yard line, throwing one deep, middle, wide open, touchdown. And Lehigh now got to have an opportunity. A field goal will probably win it as they throw one right over the middle to the 45-yard line, and immediately starting the drive with a big play, and you're maybe about 20-ish yards away from field goal range, and you're going to have a good progress there. Now past midfield, past the 40-yard line, third down, running, and just barely stop short, but it's not going to matter because you run the clock down, you kick a field goal, and it is good. So Penn was able to sneak their way into a conference title game, but it does not go their way. Still their best season, but no playoff appearances for Lehigh. And despite not being in the conference championship, Penn State at 10-2 finds themselves in a game against Nebraska, where Nebraska has the football in the snow, up by 7. So Penn State's going to need to come up with some sort of stop. A turnover even would be beneficial for them, but Nebraska's got it inside the red zone, and at the 10-yard line, third down and 9, dropping to throw, rolling, got nowhere to go, and he is sacked. So he forced the field goal, but it's going to be a 2-score game if they make this, and the kick is going to be good. So Penn State's going to need something here, and drop him back on fourth down and very long. That's going to be intercepted. Just try to take a shot on fourth down, and that's basically going to be game, as Nebraska was able to put up a touchdown, and then Penn State was able to just farm a garbage time touchdown. Doesn't really matter, but it's really proving difficult to even just get into the playoffs for these teams with how close they are. I mean, you need to convincingly win 10 plus games to get in. 9 wins for some of these teams just isn't gonna be enough, and it's already hard enough to get into the playoffs for these teams. So obviously winning a national championship, you're gonna have less opportunities. Will any of these teams win a national championship? Is Penn State's national championship their lone appearance and loss to Texas going to be the only shot we have for Pennsylvania to capture a ring here? But we go into the next season, and Penn State, another top recruiting class. Villanova, it's been perennially Penn State 1, Villanova 2. But in this year 12, Villanova 11-1. There we go. And Penn sneaks their way into the conference championship once again. Everyone else was just kind of all over the place, really, with their wins. I mean, 5 conference wins was enough, but while a couple of teams got it, Penn was the one who got the tiebreaker. And with a flag on the play, this big play to potentially get them in a spot to take the lead is going to be coming back. So a 31-25 game watches Penn back all the way up to third down and 25. And they just set up the screen with under 2 minutes to play. Maybe just try to get themselves a little bit closer. And on fourth down and long, you're going to go for it here as they drop to throw, going deep for the marker, tipped away. That's going to be Villanova football, and a first down away from probably ending this game. The handoff is going to go outside, and there's your first down, and a lot more. Breaking a tackle, heading for the end zone, and not quite going to get it. Timeout used, and the handoff going to go outside. Touchdown, Villanova, and that's going to end this game. So Villanova at 12-1. They're going to find themselves still just barely sneaking into the playoffs, but sneaking in nonetheless. And yes, we have playoff action between UNC and Villanova, and it's not in the sport of basketball. So let's see if these two basketball powerhouse schools can come out here and prove themselves in the world of football and get themselves a playoff victory. Villanova with a 24-17 lead, but North Carolina with a big run springs them inside the 30-yard line. First down and 10. Throwing, stepping up and running. He's going to go for the marker. He's got it, taking the contact, not sliding inside the 15. Now inside the 10. It's fourth down and 5 as the quarterback drops the throw. He's going to tuck. He's going to run it. He's got the speed, cuts it in, and that's a touchdown. Tie game here. Villanova got the opportunity, though, with plenty of time. 2 minutes to play to get into field goal range. Throwing one outside. That is just shy of the marker. He stepped out of bounds, so North Carolina's going to have the ball back, and they got a strike over the middle close to midfield. Hurrying back to the line, second down and 10, minute 16 to play. And with the pressure in his face, a strike over the middle. Got it for the first down. Hurrying back, third down and 2 now, as they're going into a little bit more of a clock chewing off, and with the field goal try up and good. Villanova's got very little time to go if they're going to try to get this game into overtime. And a strike over the middle is just too far out for his receiver, who tried to make a diving play on it. Instead, it just goes right into the defender's hands, and Villanova goes down. North Carolina takes him out, and a successful 12-1 season ends with a first-round exit. So, again, you're running out of opportunities to get into the playoffs. You maybe get one team sent in every year, every other year, and you can't have a first-round exit. So with time running out, will any of these teams go and capture that national title? I don't know who our best bet is. Is it Lehigh getting back in there? They got some playoff victories under their belt. Is it Villanova? Is it Penn State and the talent that they've been bringing in every year? I don't know. I think it's got to be one of those three schools, unless Penn, after their back-to-back conference championship appearances, want to go and surprise us and, you know, hit an even higher gear in the next step. But Villanova, what a recruiting class. That is an incredible class. That's going to be the best one we see, probably. That is ridiculous. Year 13 sees Lehigh and Villanova, but it just doesn't seem like these teams are getting much respect. I mean, at 10-2, Lehigh, who's been a team who's won in the playoffs and has been successful, can't even get ranked at 10-2. That's a little ridiculous. And Villanova, they're ranked, but barely at 9-3. So it's not really looking like this is going to be a situation where they can make the playoffs. Villanova has a chance if they win to make the playoffs, and they are winning this game 10-3. So there is an outside shot where if some other things kind of fall their way, and, you know, they're able to take care of business here, they can slide in. I've seen teams in the 20s get into the playoffs, and even with a win, they could go up. But Villanova's allowing a touchdown here, so Lehigh looking to take their turn and, you know, upsetting a team and making sure they can't go to the playoffs. And these two teams have had quite a fun rivalry. I don't know what the whole, you know, scope of the rivalries are in Pennsylvania, what teams hate each other more than other teams, but if it's Villanova and Lehigh having, you know, beef in real life compared to these other schools, these in-state rivalries, it'd be pretty, you know, on par with what we've seen in this video. Is Villanova is going to stop them, but the field goal is good, and now you gotta go turn to the Wildcats to see if they can go and get themselves a play with less than a minute to go now, and that's gonna be intercepted, and that's gonna be game. So both of these teams now have taken shots and turns, knocking each other out of playoff contention with a conference championship victory. And with an 11-2 record, it's not gonna result in a playoff appearance for Lehigh. So we move on to the next. And, you know, some of these teams are doing their thing, getting into bowl games. I mean, a lot of the conference now does get into bowl action. I mean, half or more of the conference finds themselves in a bowl game, so that's good. I just don't know why at this point the conference prestige maybe isn't a little bit better. These teams are competent, these teams are solid. Maybe their prestige isn't out of this world good, but there's some nice teams in this conference now, so I feel like they should be getting a little bit more respect than what they're getting. We still got some time though, and Villanova, I mean, last season, you seen that recruiting class? They got some 5 stars, they got some really nice stuff, so we're gonna have just enough time left in this simulation to get to the point where they do maybe let those guys develop and let those guys do something, because they're 11-1 now here in year 14, the second to last season. You can see 89 offense, 86 defense. They're really good. And look what we got here, another matchup, Lehigh, Villanova, and a run outside flag on the play. And Lehigh, who is down by 3, a big run springing them into enemy territory, gonna get called back with a hold. So with 4 minutes to go, 3rd down and 7, dropping the throw outside. That's gonna be caught short of the sticks though, so it's gonna be 4th down. They're going for it. Handoff, gonna be for the 1st down, and they got it. This time no holding call is gonna take it away from them. 2nd down and 5, drop into throw, and he's gonna go right over the middle, open man, 1st down. They're in that long distance field goal range now, 3 minutes to play. Another pass to the air, and that's gonna be jumped and intercepted, and Villanova takes it. So now they got the opportunity to run this out, and Villanova can pick up a couple of 1st downs and end this, but they're gonna go to the air here on 3rd down, and it's gonna be incomplete, so saving them some time, and Lehigh is gonna take right back over with a pass now as they're rolling out and rolling way far back. And 4th down is here, and the game is on the line, it looks like, and they're not going to do anything with it. Hit as he's thrown. That was just right into a defender. Unlucky. And the pick 6 is going to end it. Villanova, they're going back to the playoffs, and funnily enough, we got another fun rematch against UNC where they can try to get some redemption and some revenge. This time it's a home game for Villanova, and another close one, 27-20. Villanova with the football, and they got a big play there. And they're trying to run this clock out, so they are already in position to try to end this one. And the first down is acquired. And what a run there. This one a little bit less exciting because North Carolina didn't get to possess the football at the end. They scored a touchdown, didn't see the football again. But now we got Villanova, Oklahoma State, a 21-21 game. And Oklahoma State on the run, their quarterback can't get to the marker, 4th down and 2. They punt it away, and Villanova with the ball. And that's a big one right in between 2 defenders. And he is gone. Touchdown, Villanova. And now the Wildcats got to play some defense here, stopping Oklahoma State and their undefeated season. Catch for the first down and a little bit more. Back to the line, 2 minutes to play. 2nd down and 3, throwing one, and that's going to be caught for the first down. So they are in, that mode where they could take their time a little bit if they need to. They got plenty. They got their timeouts, and they're using one there. Minute 47 to play, and throwing one, swinging out for the running back who's got the first down. A lot of room to run, and they're inside the 25-yard line. Minute and a half to play, and they're going to throw one, tucking and running it. The quarterback got it inside the 10-yard line. They're not going to quite call it goal to go. They can technically get a first down at like the quarter-yard line, but you're probably trying to get a touchdown here, and that's exactly what they will get. So now Villanova in first down situation, under a minute to play, throwing one that's going to be caught for the first down. So trying to maybe get this game to not go to overtime here, as they got plenty of time, but they're going to get sacked on 3rd down. And that's going to result in overtime, as they're not going to do anything with like 20 seconds to play. Oklahoma State on the first play of overtime strikes, touchdown, Cowboys. And now Villanova's got to respond here with a 2nd down and 4, and they got one back in the end zone. Touchdown, Wildcats. 2nd overtime now, as Villanova starts with the football. They're going to throw one for the first down. They got it and more. Goal to go. And now 2nd down and goal. A little heavy package here. A lot of tight ends, a lot of linemen in to block, no receivers. And the touchdown. Now 2-point conversion to make it the 8-point game. Handoff. And that one gets blown up. So now a touchdown or 2-point conversion can win it for the Cowboys. Throw in here. 2nd down. Going to catch it. And flipping over, but short at the 1-yard line. Heavy package. Direct snap to the quarterback who powers it in. And the 2-point conversion to end this one. Handoff. And there's going to get stopped at the line, it looked like, but he just found a way through. He got held up, kind of danced around, used his vision, patience, and he got through. So Villanova goes down in an exciting game, but they were close. They won that game against UNC, and I mean, they were close to taking down Oklahoma State. They really could have won that one. That one would have went either way. Now we're into the final season, so the last opportunity, and Villanova's really starting to hit the best that their team is right now. I mean, back-to-back 11-1 seasons, conference championships, a playoff win. I think this is the best version of Villanova that we're getting, and I think this season might be their peak with the 5 stars that they got a couple of years ago, and, the best recruiting class that they've had. Penn State, though, 12-0 out of nowhere. Villanova 11-1, and would you know it, their only loss came to Penn State, but that's not going to really matter in this last conference championship. Villanova takes it home decisively. So both teams are going to be going to the playoffs at 12-1, but Villanova has got that first round bye. So we'll get into a little bit of Penn State USC action. It's a 3-point game, and Penn State has got a 3rd down, throwing one. That's going to be jumped and intercepted. Great reach for the cornerback to get that one, and he's going to outrun everyone for a touchdown. Now it's a 10-point game, so Penn State, they got a lot of work to do to try to get themselves back into this one. It's 4th down and very long, chucking one deep, and that's going to be intercepted once again. So USC has it. There's still 4.5 to play, but Penn State struggling here. They get themselves a stop. So Penn State's going to have at least one more chance to get this. 3rd down and 1. They're going to have a catch. 1st down. Back to the line they go. They got to hurry up. They need points on this drive if they're going to have a chance. And they're throwing one strike over the middle and a big play. And that's going to get them inside the 35-yard line. Now back to the line. 1st down and 10. 2-minute warning is hit. And they're going to throw one for another completion. And if they could pull off this comeback, that'd be ridiculous inside the 15-yard line. 1st down and 10 again. Throwing one. That's another 1st down. Goal to go. And 1st down and goal, just strike after strike after strike, and then he tucks and runs it in. So now it's a 1-score game, 3 points, and they can get a stop here. 3rd down, and that's exactly what they get. Penn State can pull this one off. Drop into throw now, and they got a first down and 10. They're going to have a completed pass in traffic close to midfield. First and 10 again. Minute 12 to go. Throwing one, and that's going to be caught. And this quarterback is dealing right now after those 2 interceptions. Minute to play, and he's got another strike over the middle, and I guess it ran out. He just one too many times into traffic, and this time USC takes it back. And on Villanova's side of things, it's been pure domination. They dominated the conference championship. They dominated the first round of the playoffs. They dominated the second round of the playoffs. And Villanova, in dominant fashion, is going to a national championship. So they got Ole Miss now, and they're losing. They've had 3 straight games where they have won by 20-plus points. And now they find themselves losing. But with 4 minutes to play and the football in scoring position, can the final game of this video be the national championship that one of these schools can have to really put themselves over the edge? If Villanova could win this national championship, and they just tied the game up, if they could win this, it might be Villanova's crown for the state of Pennsylvania, but Ole Miss not going to let that happen. Bubble screen, Kazan taking it all the way inside the 5. And with 3 minutes to play, little jet sweep and into the end zone. Ole Miss has the lead now. And now Villanova, they got another big drive in them. It's been a high-scoring affair. Second down and 1 turns the first down. So back to the line, 2.5 minutes to play, dropping to throw. And Villanova sprinting out, and just pressure got in so quickly. It's 3rd down and long now. And they got to avoid pressure here, but this pressure is getting in, and the quarterback going to run it, and he's got the first down and more into the 45-yard line. He salvages that, keeps it alive. 2 minutes to play, and throwing one. That's going to be intercepted. He tried to test it and breaking the tackle, and they had an opportunity to bring him down, but that's going to go all the way. And at least if you tackled him, you would have had a chance to stop him, but you couldn't bring him down, and Villanova comes up short for the national championship, which means none of the teams in these 15 years are going to be able to capture a championship. Penn State and Villanova both took trips to the finals, but could not get the job done. But now we're going to be heading into the final section of the video where I tier all these teams off and track everything that they did, their record, their All-Americans, their draft success, their average recruiting class, every stat that you need to know, and we'll get the definitive answer of who won in the state of Pennsylvania for the 15 years, and you guys can let me know who you think was the best and worst teams of this. So we will get into all the data, all the statistics, and everything right now. I wouldn't usually do this, but I gotta separate one team from the rest and really showcase just how bad they were, coming in at tier 4 and getting a spotlight all of their own. And I apologize to anyone who attends Robert Morris University or who has attended or who is a fan of that school, but my goodness, the amount of nothingness that they were able to achieve is impressive. No team has really done quite this bad. 47 wins in 15 years. That is good for just about 3 a season. They never even made a bowl game. You know, not making a conference championship, other teams hadn't done that. And not getting a 4-star or better prospect, that's fine. Other teams have done that. But never even making a bowl game, 122nd average recruiting class, nobody drafted. They did have 2 All-Americans. Now, the 2 All-Americans, it was one player who made All-American both seasons, and it was a kicker. So their GOAT of the 15 years of this simulation was a kicker who didn't get drafted. So this school was bad, and I couldn't in good faith put them in any tier, clumping them into anybody else's range, because no one was even in the same universe with how bad this school was throughout the simulation. In tier 3, we have a very large group of teams that all were within about 10 wins of each other, and this is the mostly irrelevant schools, all schools who were below 500 and had a season maybe where they did something, were in and out of bowl games. Some had their positives and negatives, and some of the schools worth talking about here. I really thought St. Francis was a little interesting because there were some seasons where they never made the conference championship, but they were like multiple years, I'm pretty sure, where they were ranked and, you know, in the 20s. They just never got over the hump or were ever able to sustain any success. Lafayette made a conference championship one year, was ranked one year, didn't really have anything come out of that. And Penn, interestingly, at the end of the 15 years, you know, was 2 of the final years, they made back-to-back conference championships, weren't able to win either of them or do really much of anything from that. But for the most part, these schools were just in the middle of the pack. They were able to get anywhere from 2, 3, 4 bowl wins. You know, some had All-American. St. Francis was a team that actually didn't have an All-American. There were quite a surprising amount of All-American kickers and punters coming from these schools. I don't know what's going on in Pennsylvania producing special teams greatness like that, but these teams were also able to even send a first-round player to the NFL, a first-round player from Mercyhurst, Penn, Lafayette, so that's cool to say. I don't, to my knowledge, recall that happening anytime in recent history in the NFL, getting one of those players in the first round. But the recruiting classes, Mercyhurst actually did get it the 61st best, which is pretty up there. Even teams in tiers above them, they were better than. They just weren't able to do much with the talent. But of these schools, 4 bowl wins, I would say I guess Mercyhurst did the best of these 5, but I mean, these are pretty interchangeable teams and teams that mostly did a whole lot of nothing aside from 1 or 2 years of maybe cracking the top 25 or getting a 9-10 win season every once in a while. Tier 2 was a weird one because I didn't really know what to do with these teams because none of these teams deserve to be in the tier below them or above them. And all of them, I think, are pretty distinctly separated from one another. I think Pitt's clearly better than these other 2 teams. I think Bucknell's clearly worse than Pitt, clearly better than Temple, and Temple's clearly worse than these other 2 teams. But one thing they all shared was the fact that they all had winning records, but of the winning record teams, none of these teams are really competing for that top tier. Now, Pitt was interesting because at the start they started very well, and I mean their bowl record 7-2, making a lot of bowl games and winning majority of them, so that's impressive on their front. And compared to the 2 schools next to them, bit better in the recruiting stage, sent players to the first round, a little bit more in the draft section, All-Americans, conference championships, they had 2, and definitely won in the recruiting stage of things. But Bucknell was really an impressive team in some aspects because of their just consistency. I mean, this was a team that quite literally just won 7 games every year, made a bowl game, 12 bowl game appearances in 15 years for a school that I don't think ever cracked the top 25. Maybe after they won that conference championship, they might have cracked the top 25, but this is a school that was like never ranked, never competed, never touched the playoffs, never did anything, but made the bowls, you know, all the time. And this is a conference that was highly fluctuating, but Bucknell was a constant. 12 bowl game appearances, and, you know, they were definitely better than some of the other FCS teams that we brought up, and, you know, in between the 2 that were obviously going to be at the top tier. Then Temple, they made a conference championship pretty early on, lost it, and like I said, they really didn't belong in the tier of teams that went well below 500 and won like 80 games, but they had a above 500 record, made bowl games half the time, and they just kind of coasted along, and they were fine. I mean, this is pretty in line with what Temple would probably do in real life. I mean, over a 15-year span. They did have a first-round pick, though, and I just decided to clump these teams in as winning record teams, but ultimately not players in the playoff picture or anything. And how about we get to Tier 1 and the battle for the crown for Pennsylvania? And I think these are the teams that you really have to pick between. I don't think you could reasonably say any other team aside from one of these 3 were the winners. And a lot of green on the Penn State side of things, but I do think it would be fair to say Penn State was a little underwhelming. I mean, going into this, I thought Penn State was just going to steamroll their way through and, you know, at least in the first half, go absolutely nuts, conference championship appearance at least every single season. And the fact that they made less conference championships than Villanova and Lehigh, and they tied for the most victories with Villanova, but obviously it's going to be more impressive to make 7 conference championships rather than the 5 Penn State made. I mean, they took care of business in bowl games, 9-1 in bowl games, but 2-4 in playoffs. They did have a national championship appearance, which they lost, but they were slightly edged out by Villanova in the win category by 1 win. And I mean, you can look at the talent distribution. I mean, 136 4-star plus prospects. That is, you know, 9 a year, just about. You're getting good talent, All-Americans, 61 players in the draft, 9 first-rounders, on average a top 25 class, right at the 25th mark, but still top 25 class. You should have probably been a little bit more comfortable in terms of a victory, especially your starting point, starting as the prestigious Penn State school compared to Villanova, who is just a one-star school, and Lehigh is just a one-star school. So a little underwhelming on Penn State's side, but they still had great success over the 15 years, on average just about 10 wins a season. Villanova is the next team, obviously, and I think this one may be the popular pick for the winners. And Villanova, great job from them. And I mean, they did pretty well. They got the most 5-stars out of any team. They had 6 5-stars, the absolute best single recruiting class that we've seen, most conference championship appearances, tied with Lehigh, and them and Lehigh went back and forth with some great battles. Most playoff wins, 4 and 6 in the playoffs, so 6 playoff appearances, 7 bowl game appearances with 6 bowl wins, 5 All-Americans, 4 players drafted in the first round, and the second best recruiting classes on average throughout the entire time. And then Lehigh, maybe not as good as these two teams, but still like an outside contender if you really wanted to argue them. 135 wins, still very impressive. 7 conference championship appearances, very impressive. 5 bowl wins, which is just a step behind what Villanova did, and 3-3 in the playoffs while they didn't make a national championship like the other two schools. First playoff victory, and 3 wins is more than what Penn State did in the playoffs. And plus, they had a player drafted in the first round, and I think that it was impressive that they did it with recruiting classes that were more in line with teams in the tiers below them. 79th is a big drop off from 49th and definitely 25th. So if I had to hand out the crown, I would personally pick Villanova, I think. Penn State shouldn't have been this close, especially, like I said, with the starting points. But one thing I have loved is, one, how close these have been, because the California one was super close as well. And, you know, the unique starting points and how everyone kind of finishes, because Villanova and Lehigh both had the same starting points as, like, Robert Morris, for example, and they ended up in 2 completely different areas. So you can let me know who you think won, what states you want to see next, and, you know, I have some other states planned, what other types of videos you want to see. But I hope you guys all enjoyed. Let me know what you thought. Like, comment, and subscribe, as all that stuff is super helpful. Let's continue to make these videos, and I will see you guys all in the next one.